What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now Plus. I am Alex, and we are here for the Save Point Podcast, a relaunch of sorts. So here's what we're gonna do. I want to hand it over to my guest. I want to make sure the mirror, image is okay. I want him to introduce himself, and this will be like the only time we do this because he is a main part. I found an equal, and we're gonna run the show together. I know people have been asking me to do podcasts. We tried it once. It doesn't work talking to myself. I can't keep myself going for like more than 10 minutes. So honestly, it's an honor to have you, man. I'm really, we've grown a friendship together on Twitter, and you do some incredible stuff, and you know just as much about games as I do. So thank you for being here. Quickly tell everybody, who you are, and I'm always gonna leave his Twitter in the description, so you can always go follow him, and then we'll get started with the show, and we'll kind of talk through what we have planned.
Hi, my name is Sway Casanova, and you can find me on Twitter at Pablo Chacon. And I do threads on all things video games, sometimes movies, but mainly video games and things that I have interest with. And that's it. Yep.
There you go. And again, he does a really great job with. I used his Jedi Survivor thread today in a video. I showed it and all that. He does an amazing job. So, we have one kind of thing we'll talk about in this video, but for future episodes, we'll try to have some sort of structure to it and questions from people, and we'll ask on Twitter and in the comments, of course, if you want to ask us anything or to cover anything. But let's talk about the Game Awards. It seems like a very timely thing to do for episode 1. So what'd you think? I personally think it was the best show, probably the best show Jeff Keighley has done, at least in a long time. I've watched it for a long time. I feel like it was his best ever, but that sounds very, like whenever you say something's the best thing of all time, it's tough. But I do honestly kind of feel it. So what'd you think?
I would have to echo that sentiment. I think the only one that comes like even close was like 2018 because of the amount of things that were out that year, the amount of things that were on the horizon.
Yeah.
Everything was just kind of hype. I did feel like Jeff Keighley's one issue with the awards is that he goes very hard in the beginning
Yeah, he
and
does.
then kind of just like simmers out at the end.
Yeah.
And like this year, I think with like the final world premiere that he ended it with, I think that was more like, okay, he did save something big for the end, but it was just like, I felt like Survivor would have probably fit well there, and then you like switch them and just pepper that one in the middle, put
Yeah.
Survivor at the end, and then just kind of sprinkle it throughout. But the pacing felt very well. I think he absolutely crushed it. Like
Yeah.
even like that's just like a nitpick. And
It was a
he was
much
on there
better
last night.
pace than usual. He does have
Yeah.
that issue. I really do believe he starts always super hot. We always think it's going to be the greatest show he's ever done, and then it just Summer Game Fest, I feel like, has that issue more than anything. He really starts out strong,
Yes.
and then it just dies. It completely dies. So yeah, how do you feel when you mentioned Final Fantasy? How do you feel about ending it on something we already knew? See, that was kind of my issue. Is I think Final Fantasy, what they show, that trailer, I thought was an amazing trailer. Like I really, and I'm not
Beautiful.
even, I'm becoming a more and more like big Final Fantasy fan, but I'm still not there. That was an incredible trailer, but we knew it was going, so I just felt like you said, like, well, Jedi Survivor we also knew, so like I would have liked this maybe Hades. Like Hades is not a
Yeah.
game that everybody's into, but that is such a huge announcement. Maybe something that we just. So, what do you feel about that? Like not knowing the ending versus not knowing the ending.
Knowing the ending is fine as long as it's executed in a impactful way.
Okay.
Most cases, I would like to see something where it's something we don't know
Yeah.
and
Like he
something
ended
that
it.
like
Didn't he
just
end one
totally
with
blows us
Elden
away.
Ring? Like a couple summer
Yeah,
game. He did Elden Ring as his ending. Like that was, that's cool.
that was, that's what I'm saying. Like he can, you much want to go for that, like something that we haven't seen, something that's big and absolutely just top notch
Yeah.
hype. That's what you want to end on. Um, it's always going to be like a little bit reserved if you know you've
Right.
already seen or heard things about the game.
Yeah.
But I believe like if it was like of just a very epic trailer
Yeah.
and just showcases a little gameplay and just even if you don't have it ready, just make this thing the most epic trailer we've ever seen.
Yeah.
And I think that you can easily do it just the same.
Yeah. So what were some of, like, I've made the individual videos and all this stuff, but just for them to hear, your voice or what you think, what were some of your, and we can go through, like, if there's any you want to talk about in particular. I made a list of my own, but what were some of the highlights of maybe like some of the bigger games, but then were there any smaller games that, like Viewfinder, I know I've focused on quite a bit. Like, that game looks awesome. Like, what are your, what's your spread of games that you liked there?
Yeah, most of the bigger games is what really did it for me.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy, obviously. Judas was another one. I
Oh
got to
yeah.
take another look at that actually because I've only seen it when I watched it yesterday.
Yeah, same.
Um, Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League was probably the more impactful one for me because I think
Yeah.
that it was done in a very tasteful manner. You had the clip, and then at the end, just I am the knight,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
am Batman. Like that was just iconic. The thank you to Kevin. Jedi Survivor was absolutely just incredible to see just everything that you can do in there. Fire Emblem, as you know, like I love I love
Yeah.
my turn based. And then also Street Fighter has been like a franchise that I've been into like for my entire life pretty much since I've been playing games.
Yeah.
And so that one was just like special to see because it feels like it's actually resonating with the general audience now.
Yes.
It's getting a lot of casual fanfare. And same thing with Tekken.
Yeah.
So it was just nice to kind of see those there even. But yeah, the indie game that I wanted to see was not there,
What was it? What
but
was it?
it's this game called Vigilance 2099.
Never.
And it's more like a cyberpunk type game, but it looks better than cyberpunk in a
Oh,
lot of
okay.
ways. Like it started off with one person developing it, and I believe Young Ye is actually doing the voice of the main character.
Oh, okay.
So that is what I've been watching out for lately. But I was
Nice.
like, maybe it'll show up here, but it didn't. But I was like, I'm okay with it because you don't. Who knows when that's coming out?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I feel like there was I'm looking at my list. I feel like there was a pretty good spread. Like we talk about Hades too. Like, Hades is big, and I think even the impact it had kind of on Twitter was kind of big. But it's also like, I don't know. It's not the biggest game when you think of like gigantic games. I don't think Hades comes to mind, but it also kind of is. So like, that was an amazing one. You mentioned Judas. What'd you think? What'd you think personally of Death Stranding 2? What'd you think about Death Stranding 1? How I'm thinking about it is, I liked the trailer quite a bit. In fact, I loved it. I would say that. And I'm a huge, Hideo Kojima fan. I don't know how well Death Stranding 2 is going to actually do, though, because Death Stranding 1 started really high, sales were high, and then it kind of fell off a cliff. And also, I feel like Death Stranding is much more difficult to understand than like Metal Gear. So to have sequels to something that is very, can we say, convoluted and not get in trouble, like something that's hard to, like, you know what I mean? Like, do you agree, or do you think maybe it's not that difficult, or what do you think about Death Stranding, I guess, in general?
So Death Stranding boggled my mind, like
Yeah.
because it came out. I was still at GameStop, very much at GameStop, and like just watching it. Just I was hyped for it. I love Kojima. Anything that he does. This was the first game where I picked it up and I was like, this is gonna take some. It's gonna take some adjustment here. Uh, and like to this day, I have never gotten around to actually finishing it.
Same.
So it was one
I
of those
watched
things where I picked
cutscenes
it up.
though. Like, I watched the whole
Yeah,
story, but I never
I
actually
watched the
played.
game movie on
Yeah,
YouTube. Yep.
same.
And that's my experience with it really. Like I've seen the story. I like the idea of the story. It just was like as far as like my interaction with the game,
Yeah,
it was just something about it. I can't put my finger on it to this day, but it was just something about it that I couldn't necessarily get into,
yeah,
but I do understand the beauty and see like where people would
oh yeah,
like it. And I do love that it dared to be creative. But
right.
yeah, it was something I just could not
Yeah, I think you got to
fully
be
get
in the
into.
right, like, you got to technically be in the right mood for all kinds of
Mm-hmm.
games, but for Death Stranding, like, you got to be in the zone, like, for that game. And if you're not there, I don't think it's going to work. I legitimately think you may get bored with it, or you just may not get it, or, like, something like that. It's tough. Like, and, like, we'll have to see. We'll have to see how Death Stranding 2 looks once we see gameplay, but I am Like, I don't know. I don't want to immediately go to like worry because it did look fantastic, and I have trust in Hideo to like tell a good sequel. In fact, he's kind of known for telling good sequels, right? But I just don't know how well it'll do because I just feel like people watched a lot of it online, Death Stranding, and then even those that played it, maybe they got turned off by it. I can't imagine that they're gonna build an audience, continue to build with two. You know what I mean? I can't see two selling more than one. And you want sequels normally, right? Like Uncharted 2 definitely did more than one. Last of Us, right? So I don't know. Like I just don't know how that's gonna play out.
I don't think that it has the casual appeal to
Yeah.
pull what they pull off. I think that it's very much a game that is going to attract. I'm not going to say a niche audience because it has a decent sized
Yeah.
audience,
Yeah.
but it's not going to go beyond like Uncharted eventually went outside of the people who originally liked it and went on to like a
Yeah.
casual thing. Same thing with God of War,
Yep.
even to a certain extent Horizon.
Yeah.
So I think I don't think that that game is that accessible for a lot of people to kind of just
Right.
want to get into it like that.
Yep. Honestly, I feel like the overdose for X. I feel like that's the game that would be more
Yes.
towards. I do. It's more like horror. What we kind of know from it, like horror based and stuff. I feel like that would be the one. Ironically, that would get more of it. Is there any games that because I can talk all day, like Crash, Horizons DLC? Is there any
Crash, oh
that
my
you wanted
god, I
to
was so
zero
hyped.
in on?
Suicide Squad kills the Justice League.
Okay, let's do it. Let's go on it.
So
Did you think
there was
Batman
a
was
couple.
going to appear? Do you like because like they have the dummy or whatever, the stand, and I didn't
Yeah,
like. I mean, I guess I kind of thought, well, you're not going to get this close to doing it, and then it's all a joke, and you're not going to show them. But there's like a legitimate feeling of like disbelief, like I can't believe they're actually going to do it. You know, and I feel like that's why that was like a show-stopping, not just because of Kevin, but because well, partially, actually, maybe mostly, but just the fact that you see Batman and we all know like that's the Arkham Batman, like he's freaking
Batman.
back, and like you actually see him in front of your eyes and he's controlled and all that stuff, and it's like that is a show-stopping moment. That was probably the show-stopping moment.
To a certain extent, I will say I didn't think that they actually had the guts to do it to show him off because not the guts, I guess, but like I didn't think that they wanted to put that card on the table.
Yeah.
But I want to say somewhere last week I was starting to think that they would show him specifically because of Kevin Conroy. My only hesitation is I didn't know if Kevin Conroy came back to voice him, but I'm like, if you're gonna do him, why you gotta have
Yeah.
him? So right when that trailer started, they were coming from outside, they were dragging the Flash in,
Yeah.
and the first thing you hear is the Arkham music.
Yeah.
And that's when I was like, okay. Then it pans over to a shadow and you see like the cow in front of like a box in the shadows, and I'm like, oh, they're doing it. And then like I'm sitting there like maybe that's just like a cutout, and then like they showed the one that Harley ended up hitting like a few
Yeah.
seconds later.
Yeah.
And so I just think that it was all just epically done. Like the fear takedown on the poor the
Yeah.
security guard. I'm like, man, that was like Harley's like, oh, Batman doesn't kill people, and he just drops them.
And for me, like, I don't want to say I've been hard on the game. I actually think I've actually been kind of light compared to what I've seen of other people say. But that was the first time the comedy really, like, they crushed the Harley was hilarious. Well, he doesn't actually kill people, and then it drops. Like, that is just a perfect comedic moment that I
Perfect.
truly don't think they've done yet up until this trailer, which is a pro con because you probably wanted me to laugh maybe earlier, and I didn't. But props to them, or credit where credit's due. It was funny. It was a well done
Absolutely.
trailer in all aspects, and they nailed the comedy too.
Even the detail in Captain Boomerang's face.
Yeah.
When he looked at Flash on the ground, there's a moment where he looks at Flash on the ground and he's like, nobody's
Yeah.
watching me.
Yeah.
Like I can just, so he picks him up, and even him accidentally cutting off his finger. It's just like,
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
I'm like, what did he cut off? And I'm
Yeah.
like, And so I had to go back and go to old trailers and see if I can find the Flash's like a shot of Flash's glove. And I finally found one. I'm like, that was his finger. I was like, and so like even just something like that. And the thing I noticed was that we know the Flash is controlled, but I believe in this portion of the game, like where this takes place, I don't think that he is.
Yes, I saw your thread and I was
He,
like, oh my god, you're right because of the veins, right?
the
Yeah,
veins. Yep, and Batman even has them the purple eyes, and you can see it as clear as day in the Flash's face when he is. He has
right.
the purple eyes, the veins all the way down. And now he doesn't. So and
Yeah,
that's why I'm like, this is probably getting personal now because I'm sure Boomerang at this point knows that he's not controlled. Or at least they have an inkling.
yeah,
So this whole conversation that he's having, as funny as it is, it's more okay, like I told you I was going to do this. Like
yeah,
I told you you're going to be here. And I
yeah.
think that Batman is there more so to maybe he doesn't know that Flash is no longer under control, or maybe Brainiac can feel it.
Right,
And he's like, you got to get him back.
right. Do you think Flash would then be the first of them that you because it does feel like they're kind of building it. Batman doesn't technically have to be second, but I've always gotten the inkling that Flash is first and Superman is last. That's how I've always kind of built it in my head.
I would put Batman, see, I would put him second to
You think he'll
last.
be like
Like,
the
it depends
second
on how.
Justice League man? Well, and introduced is tough because I do think Superman will be introduced but in terms of who you're primarily like who the antagonist, maybe like boss fights or whatever. Yeah, I could see that Flash, Batman, Superman somewhere towards the end, and we still don't know who else. Wonder Woman we know, but she'll probably be helping.
He'll be probably helping us.
Yeah,
It all depends on how many Justice League members are in this game and under control.
yeah,
If it's just Batman, Flash, and Superman, I think it's going to go the exact order that you said.
yeah,
If it's Green Lantern at a certain point, and then we get him out, then because I would do Batman right before you do Superman,
yeah,
because the earlier you have Batman, I mean, it's easier said than done. But if anybody can take out Clark, I mean, he's done it. So like with his brains,
yeah.
and so like I think that you have to do Batman second to last. So Flash, Batman, Superman, because Superman is going to be. I don't even know how you're going to do that boss fight, but I'm looking forward to it.
It'll be interesting, and this is one that I guess I feel stronger or like more like I trust them more because you think of Warner Bros. Montreal and like we went down a rabbit hole of well there's more villains, right? And the answer was no,
Yep.
there's not more villains. For this, it would be pretty disappointing if it's only Flash, Batman, Superman, but I can't
Exactly.
imagine with Wonder Woman, with Penguin that we saw in that one trailer. Like, yeah, I just feel like it's gonna be. It's a bigger studio. Rocksteady's bigger. Like they know what they're doing. Not that Warner Bros. Montreal doesn't, but I would expect probably five, maybe two more. Honestly, Green Lantern, and then maybe one or Wonder Woman, and you fight her at some point, but she also helps. That would be fine.
He has a certain they have a certain standard that they've set for themselves and a
Yeah,
certain reputation. And I can't see them only doing like three main villains.
yeah,
I can't they like I said, WB Montreal is a smaller studio.
yeah,
I didn't expect the amount of villains that we got. However, I did like the final product, but when you go to Rocksteady, you're gonna like, okay, this is main event.
yeah,
Like this is where we're at. And I think that nobody's gonna do it bigger and in the way with as much polish, quality, backstory, lore than Rocksteady. Like
yeah.
even to this day, there are videos of people finding new stuff in all the Arkham games.
Right.
So I think that this will be definitely uh, a bigger project than even we know about.
And there still is, I would say cautious optimism is probably the main feeling people have, but there is still
Man,
reason to be, and I think what you and I've talked about even on other live streams of, the founders leaving and all that Sefton and them. So, and also like as good as it was, it was a trailer and it was a cutscene, and that's not
yep,
gameplay. And we have seen gameplay, but the gameplay probably will be king for this game considering the live
yes.
service, elements. So that. it's a feel good thing. I don't think like Kevin Conroy is like a bait in any way. I think it's just kind of all natural. But there are
But
still
it
some
took people's
ways.
mind off of it.
Yeah, but there's still some ways this could go wrong. And the good news is, I think we'd find out. Like you only got 5 months until the game comes out, so that's what I was saying in a video. Like very quick turnaround between now and when the game comes out. So we should start hearing about it. I don't know. I wonder. Well, I even ask you. Like I wonder if now you'll wait till Hogwarts. Will you do kind of what? Because Hogwarts kind of was quiet for Gotham Knights' sake
Yeah.
for those couple weeks. So I wonder, maybe Hogwarts comes out and then end of February, bam, now it's Suicide Squad season. I could see
I
it.
think when did Suicide Squad come out? Or was
May
it already?
26th. So if you started in
May
February,
26th.
you'd have end of
That's a
February, you'd have 3 months.
that's a good amount of time to market it too.
Yeah.
I definitely think. I don't think that. I think they'll do exactly what Hogwarts Legacy did. Hogwarts was not super quiet. Like then again, they're running their ship like totally different.
Yeah.
They're showing all types of stuff like on a regular and
Yeah.
revealing things, but they weren't necessarily super quiet until like it got to be October. Then it was like, okay, we're totally quiet.
Yeah.
And so I think that there is precedence for like they're gonna show us more on social media.
Yeah.
And they're gonna start probably getting more active on their social media pages. But I think once February comes, or even like the end of January, I think that they're gonna be like radio silent, and then right after Hogwarts, you're gonna see them like tick right back up. But yeah, and like as far as the gameplay goes, I think the jury is still out on the gameplay.
Yeah.
It is not at all how people thought it was going to play. And I think that once the mass audience kind of realizes that, because Gotham Knights kind of got little brother for that too. And I'm like, Suicide Squad is looking like the gameplay is going to be it's going to be either people love it or they don't. I'm confident that they will do a good job though. Rocksteady's roots are originally from shooters, and they evolved into what they are today.
Yeah.
So I believe that they'll knock it out of the park for what they're going for, but whether people want that in a superhero game, that's going to be the...
Yeah, I think the gameplay, honestly, has looked pretty solid, and I think it probably will be. So it'll just be, is this a full game? How much live service elements is it? Basically Marvel's event, and, I know that's a huge thing you're not really supposed to say, but to not... and we now know at Gotham Knights. I mean, I think actually we can continue to complete the story. Like, Suicide Squad is their version of Avengers. It should be so much better, like not even close. But I assume they took a lot of, same things. And then when Avengers came out, they probably did just like, and you can kind of tell with Gotham Knights. That was probably like Avengers, and they pivoted hard. You can easily see it. Easily,
Yeah, I think yep.
I
think that
go ahead.
That's easily they easily pivoted on it. Gotham Knights seems like, even with the DLC that they're dropping, it just seemed like this was a game that was structurally built, and then they tried to pivot as much as they can to a traditional game. So I think Suicide Squad
I think for 2 years, like, because Gotham Knights probably really only had those 2 years, I think they did actually, if you think about it in that lens, I think they did actually a pretty solid job. They shouldn't have, maybe they shouldn't have started at their starting spot, but I do believe they pivoted super hard, and considering they probably made up most of this game since September of 2020, I think they did relatively good.
What did you think of Jedi Fallen Survivor? Well, not Fallen Survivor.
Jedi
Survivor.
Well, no, it was super good. It, in my opinion, it's the way of doing a trailer where you're not so reliant on, like, Judas looked awesome, and let me see if I can, like, the Don't Nod game looked pretty good. Most of that was CG. I guess the point is, like, you can fall back on CG, and CG can be your main thing, and there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. But for Jedi Survivor, you're getting the game in 3 months, so we want to see what it looks like. And they immediately, it was kind of a cutscene, but very much it's an in-game thing that the camera's right there and Cal's there, and it doesn't look like a game that has taken like gigantic, and it's kind of the thing we're in with gaming. God of War Ragnarok did not take visually gigantic steps from 2018. Death Stranding didn't either, right? So
Nope.
I don't really look at that as a massive negative, though, like some people do. I loved it. I love seeing the combat, all the thread that you made of stopping or I guess slowing down time, but just all of the different force abilities now. At least three different kind of lightsaber builds you can have. Like, oh my god, it's gonna be like it's kind of slept on. I feel like, but when this game comes out, it could easily be a game of the year thing.
I think it. Honestly, I thought that the first one was going like it was. I believe it was nominated, right?
I think so.
I want to say it
I
was
don't.
nominated.
2019.
That was my that was my pick for game of the year that year because it came out 2018, but it was too late to be considered. So I think it had to go in the 2019 category. I think or 2019.
I thought it came out in 2019. It and Death Stranding came out the same year, didn't?
So 2019 and then but it wasn't considered in 2019.
Oh man,
so
yeah,
it had to be
possible. Which I hate. I mean, if there's one thing I hate Jeff Keighley for, it's that stupid rule.
So I remember it was a victim of that rule, but that was like my game of the year that year. I remember verbatim. It was my game of the year. It was I just loved it entirely so much. And so seeing how he now looks like a complete tank now.
Yeah.
Like he looks like he's gonna be able to do some extraordinary stuff. And timeline wise, I don't want to say it confidently. It seems like it takes place in the same time period as Kenobi.
Oh yeah.
Like the show. So if that is true, then the possibilities of what we can get during the show.
Yeah. They said they have like surprise characters. I think either the director or he said it on IGN or something, like there will be surprise characters. Obi-Wan. There was the rumor a while ago that Darth Maul was going to be in it, but so we'll see.
I would love that. I would love that. That was literally my favorite villain in Star Wars growing up, and then like just love the double lightsaber, double-ended lightsaber, and just so even in Clone Wars when they brought him back, like I loved him. So I think that if I see Darth Maul, that's definitely probably 10 out of 10. Undeservingly for me.
Yeah, they like you said, they have room to do quite a bit. It's also not really the story. Like they didn't tell the organic story like trailer like I thought. Like there's still a lot of mystery to this game, which is not like a negative. It's just I thought with some of these first trailers they kind of paint the picture of, and they kind of do. Like we get a sense of where Cal is. But in terms of like the threat and stuff and the tank, victim Jedi of old, like we don't, there's still more to be explored there that they may not even care to tell you until you play the game.
I think that it was excellent that, like you said, we really didn't come away knowing any more than we did. And I'm like,
some gameplay features now, like, traversal, the grapple, every game has grapple now. Like, you know that, but the scope of what it is, it's kind of the same as the first trailer. It's the same idea.
Same idea. I think the only thing we was able to point out was that the guy in the tank was Nikani. Yeah. But other than that, and he might be from the Old Republic.
Yeah.
But other than that, like, man, I couldn't tell you what's going on. Like, I'm like he's working with these bounty hunters.
Yeah.
That's clearly, going against Kyle. So we don't know any more than that. I think
do you think Darth Vader would come back or no?
I hope so. I
thought they were going to structure it that Darth Vader would be the villain and that's clearly not. There's no way he is. Now could he still be in it? I think he will, but he's not. It's just odd. I mean, I kind of like that. He doesn't need to be the main villain of every single thing, but
every game.
I mean, he's around and he's dealt with him once, so you do imagine he'd be back. But I kind of thought that was kind of put to bed with that first trailer, because him not being in the first trailer was like, oh, okay, they're going a different direction. And then this, not even signaling that Darth Vader is around, you know what I mean? Very much that was a cool thing at the end of the first game, and if they want to go back to it, they can, but maybe they don't care to.
Vader that was the first time a Star Wars game got me to jump. I'm not gonna lie. Like, cause you were fighting him, and then like as you're escaping, like you're thinking you're going clear, and he just pops off like right in front of you. I'm like, Whoa,
Yeah.
like so that whole last scene of like that game was just amazing to me. So I'm like, if you bring him back, even like Force Unleashed,
Yeah.
those games
Yeah.
executed Darth Vader well. He has a history of games just get how to make him menacing.
Yeah.
So like, I would love to see him back, but I feel like Darth Maul would have a little bit more ferocity.
Yeah.
You know, like Vader has like finesse and he's just uber confident in his abilities and
Yeah.
he's not really worried about like getting you because he just believes he's going to get you.
Yeah.
As to where Darth Maul is never going to stop coming at you
Right.
unless like you defeat him.
Right. Yeah. I think Darth Maul would a more like a central antagonist of the game. I think Darth Maul would be a much better fit than
Yeah.
Vader ever would. For sure. Well, anything else? Did you play the Forspoken demo? I did.
I have not gotten a chance to play it, but I am going to play it tonight.
There you
How
go.
was it?
There you go. I it was okay. It didn't change my opinion on the game. The gameplay is what we thought, and then everything else is kind of what we thought. So it doesn't move the needle. But I mean, I was always gonna get it. So I don't know. The elemental attacks are just as cool as they look on the in videos and stuff. But it's very short. My tip to you and also anybody watching this is if you play the Forspoken demo, so they give you objectives in the game. You have to do objectives. There's my dog. It was her birthday a couple days ago. If you do the objectives that they give you right away, the demo will kick you out. So once you finish what it tells you to do, you're done. You can do other things, but like opening chests and fighting enemies. So if you want to experiment with spells or kind of see what the land looks like, do that first before you do the objectives because it'll kick you out of the game.
Oh,
I spent
how long did
35
you think
minutes
it
in.
was?
What?
35 minutes. How
35
long
minutes,
was
yeah.
it? Oh,
And it's 30 gigs. It's actually kind of big but you get a good amount of land. It's just I didn't but see the game doesn't tell you that it's going to kick you out after those 5 objectives. So
it just
I
does
didn't
it.
know if do these and then maybe it'll let you free roam or whatever. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what people. I've seen the game. I think it was Kotaku or GameSpot on my phone that said generic kind of stuff, and it was like it's a little. There is some genericness in it, but it also does have some. Her movement style and her attacks and spells and stuff is pretty unique. So I'm pretty happy with that. Just looking through my list. Do you have
Does
anything
it
on?
let you play it after you go? Like after you finish it? Like does it let you replay it?
No.
Like if you
Possibly.
close
You
the
know
app
what?
and then go back
I
in?
didn't even look. Possibly. Yeah, you could probably just start a new
Okay.
because it has the main menu like new game, load game, save game. Like it's got all that. So yeah, you know what? You could be right. Maybe you could just replay, start from the beginning. There is no story to it. Like you just there are
Okay.
objectives where you like defeat enemies and stuff. So I respect them for doing it. I don't think it does anything for them though. Like I can't imagine it. That is a negative, I would honestly argue. I can't imagine it winning people over. I can see it losing people, but I can't see
Yep.
it winning. Even me, someone who I'm
Yep.
not as negative as other people are in this game. I'm getting it. I'm not more excited for it now. I
I
understand
think
how it
that's how I'm
feels
gonna come
more.
out.
Yeah, like I get how it feels, and now I know the spells and stuff. Some of the spells because they don't give you. There's easily so much that they're hiding, but it's odd game. I don't expect it to be, it's gonna be a game that is a game, and Dead Space comes out right after it. I mean, it's gonna be a good start to the year. I don't think we're gonna get hit with the Game of the Year stuff with Forspoken. I think that'll start with
No.
Hogwarts and Jedi Survivor and stuff like that. Um, anything else from the game? Well, any final thoughts on the Game Awards or anything else there?
Crash. Can't wait
Crash.
for it.
Yes, we won.
But yes, we did. We did. That was a big win. I remember just like looking at that and I'm like, Alex is gonna freak out.
Yeah.
I'm like,
And they were making me nervous. I mean, you saw it. I was getting pretty worried. It took forever, but as soon as I think the music played first, right? Like there was
Yep.
somebody was talking and then it cut out, and then as soon as the music, I was like, thank God, yeah. And you
now,
know
if only
what
we
I've
can get Sly Cooper.
what? It's like, I mean,
If only we can get Sly Cooper.
and Spyro and Sly is just in hell. It's just an eternal hell that'll never, release him. But I don't. But here's the thing, though. I've seen people not be so happy, and which is understandable because like This is not the Crash game I wanted. I've actually said
Yeah.
that for like a year. It's not the Crash game I wanted. Will I support it? Yes. We also kind of have to support it because it seems like they are not like it's not all perfect. Like if Crash suddenly starts to not do well, I think it can be they will retire it. You know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
it's not a guarantee we're just like in this era of nonstop Crash games. We need to support this thing, even if we don't want to. But yeah, I would have taken Crash Bash over this. I would have taken Crash 5 over this.
Yeah.
But it is unique. Overwatch, Plants vs Zombies like thing. Like I'll try it, and ultimately it'll come down to the price. And I don't know how many characters. Like they show 8, and there has to be more than 8. But how deep into the catalog are we going? And how often are you going to update it? And there's a lot of questions, a lot. And they didn't even give a release date. They only said next year, even though we know because of the leaks and stuff, this game was supposed to come out like a year and a half ago. So I can't imagine this is like a fall thing unless something went wrong. I don't know. What do you think about it?
I'm in agreement with you as far as like we need to support it.
Yeah.
We need to support it most importantly to get the game that we want. And I think that
Yeah.
a lot of people that's missed out on a lot of people. And I'm like, it's as much as we like to think that corporations do bad things all the time.
Yeah.
I hardly agree with them.
Yeah.
But for IPs that we love, we need to support them. And while supporting them, be very vocal like, hey, the next game you make
Yeah.
needs to be this. This is what we want. We
Yeah.
will pay you to get this game going. So
Yeah.
like I think that's just more important than anything. So just support it. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not gonna be the greatest thing since sliced bread, it's not gonna be the greatest Crash game you've ever played, but hopefully what comes out of it is getting the Crash game that we want.
Yeah. Yeah. And in the meantime, I like the idea. I definitely like the idea,
Yeah.
and just be again, how much do they support it? Do we have to like? Is it seems like it's just a multiplayer game, and like Team Racing or Nitro Fueled had more than that, and it was a full price game, and of course they add stuff. So like, the big question like this could be a free to play game, but it also may not be. Will we pay $60 for an only online multiplayer Crash game? Would people actually do that? I think the answer actually is no. So maybe it
No.
is free to play, and then you go down. Well, if it's free to play, they have to make money. They're Activision. Activision is never good with that kind of stuff. So then you have to start worrying about that. I remember where they pulled with Team Racing, right? When it first came out,
Yep.
they were all good, and then like 2 weeks later, they destroyed the market or store thing. So it's not all perfect. I'm very vindicated, like seeing it in front of me though. Like it feels good to see it, and hopefully we get Spyro, next.
Yep.
Like you said, Sly.
How do you think they would never bring
God,
that? I mean, like
God
they
dang it.
should, but like when you think about it too, like in that era, like Kratos made it out, like God of War made it out, and like you had all these other games. I'm like, what happened to the other
Yeah,
ones?
I'm not. Yeah,
Like the actual original exclusives.
yeah.
So I think that's
Kratos is really God of War, and they let Sly go, and then Spyro and Crash switch to Activision, and now Microsoft. So if I don't know. I feel like there will be a remake of Sly Cooper one day, eventually.
one day. I think if this Crash, if they're gonna charge it, I would say half price it, like $39.
It could
I
be
think
a
that more
$30,
people would be
$40
coming
game. Yeah,
around.
I could see that.
Yeah, I think more people coming around to that.
Yeah.
Even if it was, I doubt they'll do 20, but 39, I think you would get more people getting it than not.
Yeah.
But free to play, I think that's where the big success is. But
I
there's
mean, if
gonna
you did a
be
Crash free to
caveats with
play
that.
game, like the potential is pretty high and
Pretty
open
high.
to get whoever, like you may attract some people that you'd never expect to. So there's definitely reason to do free to play, but then we'll see how you handle because you do have to make money. Like I've always agreed with that. When it comes to free to play games, like I know they need to make money and they need to,
Yep.
but there's smart ways of doing it, and games that are successful and games that are just good, like they just kind of organically make money because people want to support, and they don't make people mad with what you have to buy. Like there are right ways of doing it. Companies just do it wrong so often.
All the
It's
time.
just all the time. Yeah, that's just how it goes.
I was saying to a friend a few weeks ago that I find it funny that the game of as a service genre is used more for genres that I would classify don't need it.
Yeah.
versus
Yeah.
ones that would like. So, for example, sports games. I'm not really too much into sports games now, but I feel like that genre more than any should be games as a service
Okay.
because you're releasing the same thing but
Yeah,
a
pretty
roster
much.
change.
Yeah.
Versus something like Overwatch, where it's like the game was much better as it was constructed
Right.
before
Right.
versus what it is now.
Yeah.
So,
That's a good point. I think yeah, they bend genres and they take like again, in a perfect world of all sane people, you take some steps back and Crash Bandicoot is not a free to play genre kind of it's just
yeah,
not. But it gets warped into it. And like you said, yeah, games like, I think the shoot it's tough. Like like I could see Call of Duty. Like if you remove the single player for Call of Duty, you could go multiplayer, free to play with Warzone and stuff all
yep.
day long, and you'd make so much. You'd still make I think a lot. But yet again, they make so many sales day one.
Just off of the game.
Yeah, so in that sense, and you have to like make it kind of worth it to people, and maybe the single player is their way of rationalizing it. So it's tough, but the industry is not a friendly place or a great place.
Money, money, money.
That's all it is. That's all it is. Well, I think we'll probably end it there. This was cool. This was a lot of fun. And now, in terms of the future, for anybody that made it this far, but we'll get better with saying this throughout the episodes in the future. Like we want to make this a reoccurring thing. We'll do different segments. We'll talk more about games that are coming out, games that have come out. We both have also different interests. Like you for Street Fighter and Tekken, like I could never. So I mean, there could be episodes where that's like a heavy thing, and it's all you. So there's a lot of potential here. Viewer Q&A kind of stuff. We talked about guests. Maybe we can bring in a guest every now and then, like a 3-person thing. So we got a lot of ideas, and we're willing to change it up a little bit. So any final words you want to say, Sway?
Thank you for having me. I'm so glad to have this opportunity and just to expose myself to more people and just do this. Like it's been great, and like I love the community. So any chance to just be active with the community and talk about gaming and everything, like I enjoy it. So I look forward to doing this annually and just
Yeah.
I love it.
For sure. So we got over the next little while, it's more like end of the year stuff. So maybe condensed versions of game of the year things for you and me. Like there's definitely ideas up here, and we're up for anything. So thank you guys for watching. Sway's stuff is going to be in the description if you want to click. We'll go to his Twitter, all of that, and we'll just keep this a normal reoccurring thing. All right. Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you all on the next one.